Oh, hey guys, it's Thoughts a Lot again here with another My Hero Academia What If, and we're actually going to be continuing one from a previous part. We're going to be continuing with part 2 of What If Deku reincarnated as the Avatar. So if you haven't seen the previous part, I'd recommend watching that first to actually understand, the story and the gist of what's going to be going on in this series, and the kind of backstory as to why Deku is the Avatar in this story. But it's kind of not necessary. I suppose part 2 is more of a start as to where the action and the actual story of My Hero Academia kind of progresses. So from the previous part, we've had Deku going to sleep and actually meeting one of his previous Avatar cycle reincarnations, Aang, being that he doesn't get Chorus and she's kind of still alive in this story, I guess. But alright, so we're going to start from the previous point where it ended off with Deku meeting Aang. So Deku's just staring at the man in front of him, dumbstruck, just like his mother was earlier when she saw him kind of float into her room. And he asks him, what does he mean by he's a reincarnation? The odd-looking monk in front of him responds with the same sentence that he said before. I'm Aang, one of your previous lives, young Avatar. Avatar, the world has descended into much chaos. I'm not even sure where we are anymore. The world's changed that much. And he continues. He asks him, what nation do you belong to? The confused Deku just responds in turn by just saying, I'm pretty sure we're in Japan, in Musutafu, I think my mom called it. And Aang looks really confused. And he's like, what's Japan? Is that one of the new republics that have sprung up? I'm not sure what you mean, young Avatar. Deku just stares at him in utter confusion. He was already creeped out earlier and just starts to walk away, saying, my mommy told me not to talk to strangers, so I'm going to go now. But as Deku walks away, he notices that he's got nowhere to go. He's in a vast, empty plane in his own mind, and he's really unsure of how he's supposed to leave. So he just turns back around and listens as Aang just changes. He hears a gust of air, and suddenly there's no longer this strange old monk, but rather a young boy. And he continues, but in a much more bright, kind of cheery tone, much more reminiscent to one of his friends. And this makes Deku a lot more willing to listen. He starts off with just, I'm Aang, and you're the Avatar. We do good stuff in the world and make sure everything stays as it's supposed to be. Deku's eyes brighten a bit at this, as he excitedly just says, so you're like a hero then? So Aang replies with, I guess so, but you're the Avatar now. You're the hero. Deku looks really excited and asks what Aang's quirk is. He looks puzzled for a moment and responds with, I guess I really like that weird onion paste that old guru gave me, and that's a bit weird. Deku laughs a bit and says, no, not how you're weird. What are your hero powers? And Aang explains bending to him. And he explains what bending is. He explains that it's controlling the 4 great elements, and as the Avatar, it's his duty and his ability to control all 4 of them being air, earth, water, and fire in no particular order. So Deku looks confused a little bit and asks him, wait, so I have this bending power? I thought my quirk was just self-defense. And he tells him, no, that's the Avatar state. He tells him that the Avatar state is actually the collation of the power of all of the previous Avatars, and it's a self-defense mechanism for young Avatars to use to actually protect themselves in moments of need. So Deku starts to understand a little bit. Even though he's a kid, he's quite a bright little kid, and he looks, a little bit confused still, but at least he's starting to get the gist of it. So Deku, he starts to meditate to try and actually force visits to this Aang. And first off, he's a little bit unsuccessful. He's a kid. He doesn't really get how to sit still or meditate at all. But after a short while, let's say about a year, Deku starts to learn to actually meditate a little bit better. And he starts to be able to actively communicate with Aang more than just in his dreams. So at this point, Deku's still really young. So we're going to say that over this past year, Deku's mother's gotten, a little bit, she still remembers, but she's not as worried about his whole kind of blue eyes experience anymore. She thinks it was just a one-off maybe, and she's really kind of just put it off as just another thing that happened, Even though it doesn't really make particularly much sense to her, she's like, well, it doesn't make sense in the first place, so what's the point in dwelling? So at this point, Deku's getting a little bit older, and he's starting to train with Aang and the previous avatars, Roku, Kyoshi are some ones that come off the top of my head. I don't remember the names of all the other ones, but those are the ones that are really kind of important inside of The Last Airbender, and I suppose they come up in Korra as well, but those are the ones that he's going to actually get trained by in this one. And so he goes ahead and initially he learns how to waterbend. So he learns how to waterbend from Kyoshi because he has water all around him. You know, being in his city, we see that there actually are quite a few rivers and lakes, and he does play in a little river all the time as a kid. So he's instructed by Kyoshi to just try and move the water. And by the time he's actually about 8 years old, he's learned to waterbend a small amount. And we're going to say that just like Aang, he's not going to like perfectly master all of the elements before moving on to the next ones. And so he actually starts to learn to earthbend also from Kyoshi. Now, he starts to learn to earthbend very quickly, because if we remember the avatar cycle, it goes from water to earth. And since Korra was the last avatar, his affinity should actually be for earthbending. And so he learns how to earthbend very quickly and picks up on it, and it's very natural. And so he actually ends up mastering earthbending in the short time that he's learned it. So we're going to skip to the time that he's about 12. He's just entering, he's entering middle school at this point, I think. I'm not exactly sure about the Japanese school system, but we're going to say that he's entering some sort of school at this point. And he's mastered earthbending, and he's still learning waterbending. And now he starts to learn to firebend from Roku. So from Master Roku, he's starting to learn to firebend, and he's gained a little bit more control over waterbending, and he's already very good at earthbending at this point. He doesn't have access to a lot of the advanced techniques, so stuff like, metal bending, he hasn't learned how to do that kind of cool sensing thing that Toph has yet, but he's learned, a pretty solid foundation, so he's pretty strong earthbender. So at this point, he's also started doing physical training, train his body to actually learn to, fight without bending purely, and also just because, to actually bend with some efficiency. It's basically martial arts, if you think about it. It is pretty much movements of martial arts and using them to actually channel kind of energy, I suppose. So we're going to say that he's going to, do quite a bit of physical training starting from now. So he's going to start doing his physical training quite a bit earlier. And since he's actually got, a quirk in this timeline, even though it isn't technically a quirk, everybody else can't really distinguish the difference. They're actually very amazed by him. And so his social development is quite a bit different. He's, a lot more popular. He's the kid that has multiple quirks, and he keeps on getting stronger and better every day. And so he's actually got more of a rival relationship, as mentioned in the previous part with Bakugo. He's got a good rival dynamic going. And so given this, everything's actually going quite nicely until the point where he's about 15. And at this point, he's learned earthbending, firebending, and waterbending to a decent extent. Earthbending still being his best, but now he's starting to learn airbending from Aang. And on the day that he's due to, he's actually very excited and decides to rush home. And as he's going home, he actually walks through this kind of small alleyway around the side that he doesn't usually. And something strange happens. He notices that one of the grates is actually open, one of the grates leading to the sewers. And this is rather strange because Deku wasn't really, isn't expecting that to be open, but maybe, some maintenance is going on. And so he turns back around. And as he turns back around, he notices something. There's a sludge monster jumping straight towards him. And he says, "You're mine, kiddo," as he rushes towards him. So Deku reacts, not being too afraid, as, he's done some training, he's strong, and he shoots a fireball towards it. The sludge monster just knocks onto the floor. He's not out, but he's stunned. He wasn't expecting this kid, slightly muscular, but kind of timid-looking child to have such a strong quirk, and he just thinks to himself, damn, this kid has a really strong quirk, or at least I will soon. And he rushes towards Deku again. Deku earthbends himself into the air, and as he's in midair, he sees this sludge villain starting to expand beneath him. And we're going to leave it there for now, with Deku in midair, unsure of what's going to happen next. And honestly, I think this has been a fairly long, fairly good part, so we're going to leave it at that. And actually, see you guys next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this part. The first part I quite enjoyed, and actually seeing some of the comments, even though it was my first video, some of you guys quite enjoyed it. You gave me some suggestions. If you guys want any suggestions for any like what ifs, then leave them in the comments. You know, I'd really appreciate if you guys like the videos, commented, and subscribe to keep up to date. You know, I'm trying to post these quite often and quite like regularly, so I'm hoping to post maybe 1 or 2 of these every week. Maybe, you know, for the start off, I'm posting quite a few, maybe once every 2 days, once every 3 days. You guys should expect to see a video. So yeah, I think once every 3 days is quite a good schedule. You know, sorry for this video being a little bit long, you know, kind of rambling about schedule and all that kind of stuff, but you know, I feel like it's important to let you guys know when I'm going to be uploading, so you guys can kind of watch out for that. So yeah, once every 3 days I should be uploading. If I upload sooner than that, that's great, but I will stick to the once every 3 days kind of cycle. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Again, just I'd really appreciate if you guys left a like, commented, and subscribed. Like, you know, I'm not gonna like promise that I'll give you an iPhone if you do that, but you know, I can at least say, you know, you'll help me grow. And honestly, if you guys enjoyed it, then you know, giving the support, helping me grow, it'll, you know, motivate me to make more videos. So yeah, again, thank you guys for watching all this way. You know, if you have, then just leave a comment. Just something really confusing, something like, oh my god, I can't believe Deku got frog legs. Like, just to confuse people, because why the hell not? So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next part. I feel like that's the 50th time I've said that, but yeah, I'm really glad you guys have watched all this way. Yeah, I'll see you guys around. All right.